Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Leslie Phillips.
Hello listeners, you are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey.
Hello everybody.
And we are broadcasting live this evening from the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley. Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality, and every week we have a different discussion topic, and we open the lines for you, the listener, to engage with us about the discussion topic. And tonight's discussion topic is actually going to be victim mentality. What is victim mentality, and how do I overcome victim mentality if I'm someone who has those kinds of thought patterns and everything? So that's what we're going to be talking about. And you can call in and join in the conversation. We also open the lines in the latter part of the show, really the last 40 minutes of the show, for you to ask your questions, because I'm an intuitive and I'm a healer. In fact, we're both energy healers. And so we invite you, the listeners, to call in with your questions. And the questions can be about the topic of the day, but they can also just be about absolutely anything that you want to ask about, anything that you want to talk about.
Anything?
Anything.
Even pizza?
Even pizza, if you really, really have to. So, I'm going to read out the phone number, just for those of you who have a burning question that you would like to gain an intuitive insight about. The phone number is 604 504 7441 extension 4142, and once again that's 604 504 7441 extension 4142. All right, well, without further ado, let me begin, and let's talk about victim mentality.
That's that's a really hot topic these days. It has been for years now, and there's still, even with all the work people are doing, there's still so much bullying and victims and out there.
That's right. There is, isn't there? I mean, I guess, you bring up a sort of subtopic there of bullying, but I think all of us can identify with one time or another in our lives having felt like we were being bullied. I know I was.
I was savagely bullied.
Oh, yes. I can remember hiding in the girls' toilets while my bully took my pencil case and flushed my pencils down the toilet.
Oh, I can beat that one easily.
Can you?
Oh yeah,
Are you
I'm not going to.
You're not going to.
No.
Oh dear.
Not going to give that any energy.
Yeah, so Carolyn Swarfield, if you're listening, not that you are because you live in England. Oh dear, I'm telling everyone about you. Okay, so victim mentality, and what do we mean by someone with victim mentality? And I looked up a sort of dictionary Wikipedia definition of it, and it's somebody who has a personality trait where they feel they are a victim of the negative actions of other people or circumstances that are outside of their control. And they behave as if this was the case, even in the face of contrary evidence to such circumstances. So it's someone who's got a bit of an obsession about being a victim, really. Someone where this is an ongoing personality trait. That's somebody who has victim mentality. And how do you end up having victim mentality? And I should think it's actually pretty easy to end up having a victim mentality, because it can be the result of childhood circumstances. So either you had a parent or parents who were victims themselves and who had a victim mentality, and that's how you learned about the world, that we are victims. We're all victims in this family. Or you were victimized as a child by your parents or by somebody else consistently. So that's one set of circumstances where you can end up becoming a victim. But also, you might have had an unfortunate set of circumstances, some kind of tragedy in your life that was really challenging and hard to deal with, and that led to this belief set. And there are some extreme examples that we could say that really it's completely understandable how somebody ends up like that. So it could be if you have a chronic illness, that you've been fighting for years, or some dreadful tragedy like your child was run over, and that's something that is just devastating and occupying your psyche and your mind space on an ongoing basis, and really, really difficult to let go of, that then colours the rest of your reality. And then but it's interesting, isn't it? Because not everyone who experiences a tragedy like that ends up developing victim mentality. Only certain people do. And so,
don't you think everybody just feels a little bit like the victim every once in a while?
I think most people do. I think most people do, and most people have felt like that at some point in their life, haven't they? I mean, I think the ones that probably don't are the ones that have, done some spiritual development and work on themselves and worked through that stuff. But I'm sure most of them can look back on their life and see when they did feel that way. Yes, and so I mean, one might say then that it's a choice, really. It actually is a choice whether you're going to adopt the perception that you're a victim in life. So what is the gain? What is the gain from being a victim? Why might somebody act like this on an ongoing basis? Because, I mean, like some of those tragic circumstances I talked about, well, I mean, obviously somebody's going to feel dreadful and there's going to be a healing process. But there are just some people who are stuck in the victim mentality and never recover. So why might they be stuck in the victim mentality? And I think that the gain can be that playing the victim lets you off the hook for owning responsibility for your life. If you're a victim, you don't have to accept responsibility for anything at all, really. I'm just a victim of circumstances. And it may be that the people around you feel sorry for you, treat you with kid gloves, because they're afraid that you're going to get upset, and so they, or they pay extra attention to you, or, walk on eggshells around you for fear that you're, of disturbing the inner victim within you. And maybe it helps you to manipulate things to get what you want by acting like a victim. You might get to be the center of attention and tell your story of woes over and over and over again. You might get to feel righteous and avoid taking a deeper look at yourself and what's really going on inside of you. So there are lots of reasons why somebody can be stuck in a victim mentality. So we are going to talk about ways in which how to get out of victim mentality if you're somebody that's stuck in that place. But before we do that, I thought I'd do a little kind of a quiz.
Oh, a quiz. I like quizzes.
Am I a victim? Am I a victim? So listen to this list of symptoms of being a victim, and count how many that you would say yes to. And if there's a substantial number of them, then maybe you need to look at this question for yourself. And actually, I mean, I've got a list of 20, and it's actually more than 20 because some of them are lists within the numbers. But so you have a kind of persecution complex. Everybody's out to get you. Everybody's out to get you. You know, you're always the one being picked on. Most people in a relationship would maybe feel like that. You always blame other people for your misfortune. Do you always blame other people for your misfortune? You feel helpless to cope with life challenges. Okay, so you feel powerless and helpless to cope with life's challenges. And things have a tendency to get out of proportion. So you feel targeted in some way. You're unable to see another person's perspective. You're stuck in your own perspective. No one else can talk you out of it. That's just the way it is. That's just the way that you see life. You can't take constructive criticism and have a tendency to be on the defensive. You get in competition about having the worst story of everyone. You know, my life's the worst of everyone. My problems are much worse than yours. My tragedy is a bigger tragedy. You're really lucky in comparison to me. They have a tendency to be cynical, pessimistic, paranoid, always complaining, being hypervigilant, always looking around for, you know, what's going to happen because the others are out to get me. They've had a past time trauma, but it's stuck and it's on replay over and over again. It might be years and years and years since this trauma happened, but the record player is still going round and round about it. A belief that the world is a really scary place. That the world's not safe, it's scary and it's frightening. A tendency to feel sorry for yourself and actually quite enjoy complaining to others, that's your main topic of conversation, is to sit down and have a chat with your friends who may also be people that like to complain and complain about the world and complain about your lives. Next one, belong to groups who complain. I just said that. Yeah. Exactly. And even, you know, I mean, just belong to some of these. It could be any kind of group, really, but a conspiracy group, an environmental group that just complains but doesn't take any action to do anything about it. So feeling powerless to change and take no responsibility for yourself or anything else, and won't self-reflect, won't really take a look at yourself, and then tend to be on the attack, accusing, blaming, criticizing, and like I said before, defending. So feeling of helplessness, powerlessness, a tendency to stay small and not be adventurous, to feel like there's no choice. That's the way it is. There's no way out. So black and white thinking, this is the way it is. And even if somebody offers you an alternate route, being unable to accept it. Yes, but. Or even if someone demonstrates to you that there is a way out, and you validate that you've experienced the possibility of a way out, but then immediately resetting to that thing that goes round and round again. Self-depreciating, always putting yourself down. And I think I've already said these. Enjoy attention when others are sympathetic, so enjoying the sympathy, wallowing in the sympathy, and not willing to do the work, not willing to look at yourself. And so, listeners, if you identified with that big long list of things, or a fair number of them, ask yourself, is this something that I'm doing, that I have somewhere within myself, this victim mentality?
I think we all have a little bit of a victim mentality, and just this is what I said earlier, you know, it's just it's ego. It's ego. Your ego plays in, and no matter what somebody says to you, you know, that little voice in your mind either says no way or oh no, did I?
Yeah. No, I think Yes, so listeners, if you're somebody who has questions about victim mentality or, looking to get out of it, then you can call us on 604-504-7441, extension 4142.
But we'll take questions on any topic, metaphysical or spiritual.
We will. And before the break, just before we go to the break, let's talk a little bit about, how do you get out of a victim mentality? How do you change that? And
you beat up the guy who's bullying you.
Take responsibility. I mean, actually, that's a form of taking responsibility, I suppose. Take responsibility, because you will feel more empowered, you will feel more in control, and as a consequence, your life will change. Because when you're a victim, you're completely powerless, and you are certainly not believing that you create your own reality. Quite the opposite. But if you can take responsibility and see yourself as the master of your own personal universe, then you know that you can change the circumstances. You can change the way that you feel. You can turn it around. And as you turn the way that you feel around, then everything else shifts around you. So, number one, take responsibility for yourself and take responsibility for your life. Because nothing really is going to change if you don't. Let go of entitlement. I think that don't think that was on my previous list, but a tendency to feel entitled but not really feel like you have to do anything for that entitlement. I deserve this, but nobody ever gives it to me. So let go of entitlement and become empowered and realize that what it is that you're wanting, that you think you should have, you can create it, you can attract it. So set yourself some personal goals and focus on going after the goals as opposed to complaining that you don't have what you want, but you should have it. Work on yourself. Explore different therapies and modalities that might help you release your past trauma, and there are a lot of them out there. I'm sure we could list a whole bunch of them, whether it's hypnotherapy, emotional freedom technique, body talk, any kind of energy healing, working with a spiritual mentor or an intuitive advisor. There are going through a professional psychologist. So many different modalities available for you to explore and find the one that really resonates with you. And a lot of those modalities, what they will do is that they will, and how I would work with you, is to work on the level of your belief system and help you change your core limiting beliefs. Because beliefs they're really just energy patterns that you're holding in your energy field, and they can be shifted, they can be changed, they can be intentionally altered. The limiting beliefs can be de-energized and released and replaced with more supportive beliefs.
All they are is data.
Yes.
All they are is data that people have downloaded into your mind, and so at some point you can choose to believe that data and see it as fact, just like everything on the internet's true. It's the same thing. You have the choice. Thoughts are things. You don't have to act on your thoughts. Your mind is that's what your mind does. Your mind is there to protect you, your logical mind. So if you go black, your mind will probably go white because black is too easy. If you go white, your mind will probably go black because white's too easy a choice. It was there to question. Your mind is actually there to question the things that you're thinking in order to make the right decision so you don't get eaten by dinosaurs. And that's basically it. And so when a thought comes into your mind, you can just notice it and just let it go. And sooner or later, you can you desensitize to it.
Yes,
it just stops having an effect on you.
Yeah, and there are lots of techniques. I teach some techniques to help people do that, and lots of other people do as well.
Grounding.
But we're also de-energizing the belief. So change the software, really. Change the software. Change what's in the operating system. You can change it. And then alter your self-perception. I guess in some way that's another way of saying alter your beliefs. But alter yourself, but you've made it this far, you're still alive. See yourself as a survivor rather than a victim. It's more of a positive outlook on to label yourself. And be compassionate. Be compassionate to yourself, be compassionate to other people, and even those that you think are the ones that are persecuting you. Can you find a grain of compassion and understanding for these people? And, I'm going to use a religious analogy now, but it's like Jesus on the cross. Forgive them, they don't know what they do. Because, if you are genuinely being bullied, the bully is only bullying out of his own pain or her own pain. And that bully is not in touch with who they are. That bully is not in alignment with their higher self. That bully is in pain and is acting out. So can you find compassion? And practice helpful vibrations, helpful feelings, helpful emotions. We think, well, I can't control my emotions, but you actually can control your emotions, and you can change your emotions, and you can change your vibration. So you can meditate on gratitude, acceptance, love, and feel yourself into those higher vibrational states. And that will help lift you out of the lower vibrational state of victim mentality. And find other techniques that can help you, such as affirmations, journaling, meditation, things that can help you reset yourself and reset your energy, your vibration, your emotions, the mental chatter, and all of those things. And instead of focusing on yourself and being all internal and all in on yourself, focus on someone else. Do something loving for somebody else. Get yourself focusing on something nice out there in the world. And validate yourself. Think about your skills, the good points in your life. And be more assertive. So those are some tips about what one can do to lift oneself out of victim mentality. And listeners, you are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and with Corrie. And on this evening's show, we've been talking about victim mentality and what that is, and how might somebody become someone who has that victim mentality. Might you have it? And then
thank you.
How to pull yourself out of it? We're going to go to some breaks, but after some ads, on a break. And after that, we are going to take your calls and answer your questions. We'll be back in a few minutes on Unlocking Your Truth. Welcome back, listeners. You're tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and with Corrie.
That's me.
And on tonight's Unlocking Your Truth, we've been talking about victim mentality. And what does it mean? What is it to have a victim mentality? What might be the reason for having a victim mentality? And what do people get out of it? Why would somebody do that? What do they get out of it? And we also looked at what are the traits or characteristics of someone who has victim mentality, asking the question, can we identify with any of these things? And I think we came to the conclusion that most people at some point can or could have done. And then how to raise your vibration and your consciousness and make a shift out of that victim mentality. And so now we are at the time in our show where we open the phone lines, and we also open to our Awaken Your Intuition Facebook group to post questions as well. So if you want to call in, if you're listening live on 101.7 FM, you can call 604 504 7441 extension 4142, 604 504 7441 extension 4142, and come live on air with me and ask a question. And your question can be, it doesn't have to be about the topic that we discussed today. It could be about anything. And people call up and they ask about their relationships, they ask about their career, they ask about their life purpose, financial things, abundance, and really anything under the sun, their own psychic abilities, experiences that they've had that they don't understand, that they would like to have some assistance with.
You even do mini readings.
And sometimes I do mini readings, yes. Anyone who asks a question gets a mini reading, but sometimes we do a bit more than that. So listen in on a regular basis, and you might get to phone up and get a free aura reading, or a free past life reading, or a free healing.
So actually people don't ask questions about their abundance, they ask questions about their lack of abundance.
Yes. Why am I so rich? I just don't understand it.
Okay, I sort of have a question here from Anonymous, and Anonymous is saying, I feel that I'm telepathic. When someone stares at me, I hear their voice. I don't hear voices all the time. It's only certain people when we look at each other. It's like I can read their mind. I also have talked to my grandpa in my dreams. I felt at first I was going crazy, but now I know what it is. I also see orbs and flashing lights sometimes.
Okay, and so the question in that is just to validate them?
I would think so.
Because they're saying they can do these things.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, Anonymous, let's take a look and I'll give you some information about you. I'll give you some general information as well. If you're hearing somebody's voice, that's clairaudience, because telepathic is non-verbal communication. And if you're seeing orbs and lights, that's clairvoyance. And if you are encountering your grandfather in your dreams, then that's an out-of-body experience or an astral encounter. And so, you know, there are many different terms that refer to intuition and intuitive abilities, and sometimes they're very loose in how those terms are used. But my definition of telepathy is non-verbal communication, and it can be broadband or narrowband, just like the radio. Broadband is where you're communicating one-to-many, and narrowband is where you're communicating one-to-one. And it can be both sending and receiving. All right, so let's take a look at Anon and their spiritual experiences and what's going on. Well, what's interesting to me, Anonymous, is when I look at your energy, the energy center that really, really looks active is actually one that relates to none of the things that you wrote about. And it's the crown chakra. And the crown chakra looks really switched on and bright. And that's the one that relates to knowingness or claircognizance. And so I wonder if you are having experiences where you are knowing, instantly knowing, intuitively knowing, without without using your intellect, just information just dropping in. And so to me that one looks like the brightest one, and it looks like you've got some healing and clearing to do in the rest of the chakra system. And of course, if we want to develop our intuitive abilities, we have to clear our energy field. So you can't have one without the other, in essence, because to develop your intuitive abilities, it's like you are the vessel that the information is coming through, and you need that vessel to be clear, because otherwise it's coming through mud or fog, and then there won't be clarity. And so in order for us to really tap into and tune into and take charge of our intuition and all our different intuitive abilities, it is a process of enlightening, clearing the chakra system, clearing the energy field, healing ourselves, just like we were talking today about healing ourselves, changing our belief systems and all of that. And so I'm seeing that for you, it's almost like the process has begun, but there's quite a bit of healing and clearing to do. And I always say this, but it looks to me like you would benefit from learning grounding, because that gives you a way of releasing the interference. Because I'm seeing quite a bit of it, even though you're having these experiences, which is great. I'm also seeing quite a bit of interference in your energy field. So imagine what it would be like if you cleared the interference. That's my answer to Anonymous.
Oh, it is it?
Yes.
So I have a question from Lindy. And Lindy says, my dog passed away after having stage 4 heartworms. I sat with him until the vet had to put him to sleep because he was in so much pain. I was wondering, could you sense him for me so I can get some closure? And if you can you tell him I will always love him?
What's his name again? The dog?
Jake.
Jake.
I didn't mention it.
Oh, sorry. Okay. All right, let's take a look at this doggy. I'm going to take a look at the owner of the doggy first.
Okay.
Well, I'm just obviously seeing that you're going through a lot of grief and grieving and crying and releasing the pain and questioning yourself and whether you were to blame in any way or whether there's anything you could have done differently, and just wanting to know that that the dog is all right now. And I would just say, well, that the dog is all right now, and it's people often, this is often a question people ask, whether it's about a pet or whether it's about another, person. Are they all right? Are they free from pain? Are they not suffering anymore? And absolutely they are, because they are no longer in the body, and the place where the painful experience was in the body. And once they are released from the body, they are released from the pain. And so, I'm tuning into a very bright spirit for your dog's energy, and there is no pain, and there's no pain, and there is only love. And I think that your dog knew that you loved the dog, that you loved him, and I'm seeing that. I'm seeing you petting him and being really kind and compassionate to him when he was going through that process, and I'm seeing that he felt everything that you gave to him, and and it helped him, and it helped him, and also he didn't want you to suffer and didn't want you to be in pain. So I hope that helps, and I hope that gives you some comfort. So, yeah, that's my answer to that one, Corey.
Okay. I have a response to your post on what happened to Doreen Virtue.
Yeah.
And this is from Ellen. And Ellen says, have you read the book Jesus, an autobiography by Tina Louise Spalding? It states that she communicated with Jesus about how he studied how to heal. He never said he was the Son of God, but as you said, God-like. It talks about the times before his ministry, when he went, who he loved, who he met, etc. I would like to know your thoughts on this if you read it. If you didn't read it, the book definitely captures attention to the teachings about Jesus today.
Yeah, I haven't read that book, Jesus by Tina Louise Spalding, but I have a personal relationship with many ascended masters and teachers, and Jesus is one of them. And so I have a lot of information about him. And of course, and this will, for those sort of fundamental Christians, this will probably send them in a tizzy, but but everything I teach and practice was taught and practiced by Jesus. He was an energy healer. He practiced energy healing. He trained as an energy healer. He was a psychic. He was clairvoyant. He was an intuitive. He could read people's energy. And he basically studied in mystery schools. He was part of the Essene sect in the Middle East that was a mystery school. And he also had teachers from other mystery schools, I believe, from Egypt and from Persia. I mean, those wise men that are talked about at the birth of Jesus are from those cultures, from those wisdom schools. So he had a lot of training and tuition in the mysteries, and of course was an amazing student and surpassed his teachers sooner than in the end, really. And so, I mean, I don't know what Tina Louise Spalding says about Jesus, but he said, I am the way and I am the light, because in the way he lived his life, he taught us how to be an awakened human. And he's basically, what he said was not I am the one and only Son of God, but I am the progeny of God. I am the projection of God. I am an aspect of God. I'm trying to find a way to say it. What he meant was, I guess what we say in spiritual circles these days, that we are all a spark of divine consciousness. We are all a projection of God. And in the wording that he used, it might have been I am the progeny of God, but it meant the light that projects forward from God. And that is who we are. That's who each and every single one of us is. An aspect of God, an aspect of divinity. We are a part of God. We exist within God. So it sounds like she's saying the same kind of stuff as I would say. And maybe right now, seeing as I've answered that lady's question, we should go to another break, and then we'll come back and we'll answer some more listeners' questions. Listeners, you're tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and with Corrie. And we're broadcasting live this evening on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley. And you can call us on 604-504-7441, extension 4142, 604-504-7441, extension 4142. You can email info@drlesliephillips.com as well. You can join the Awaken Your Intuition Facebook group. Those are all ways of accessing the show and having your question answered on the show. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back, listeners. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corrie. And we're broadcasting live on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley. And if you're just tuning in, tonight's show was about victim mentality and how to overcome victim mentality. But we're now in the portion of the show where we answer your questions and we offer an intuitive insight.
Into
a little mini psychic reading. So feel free to call us on 604-504-7441, extension 4142. Or write to info@drlesliephillips.com, or if you're live streaming from the Facebook group, you can type it in the chat box.
So this is a comment from Bridie, and she says, I don't feel I hold a victim mentality, but I remember when I did, and I was really suffering when I was experiencing being stalked. I got really angry when my mom pointed out I was a victim in victim mode, as I wasn't choosing the experience, not in the physical.
Right.
And then she writes quite a bit more. Let me just get down a little bit. Non-physical. I was really angry about this, but really it was the trigger for me to snap out of it and take responsibility and accountability for what I could control. Only my way of being through the feeling of trauma. In the end, I feel I gained for more than I lost through the experience. Thank goodness I chose to make that shift, because I probably wouldn't be here if I had not. on the weekend, I experienced a great release and really feeling of a real feeling of grief as I surrendered to my heart. I gained an awareness of that. I feel I have purpose when I float out there and operate from my higher self and in the other dimensions. I realized I actually chose to be here on this earth and at this time to embody my higher purpose. Here on this earth, it's a higher purpose here on the earth, and to be more effective as I can actually choose to be here. This was quite a grieving sensation, and I almost felt victimized because I realized I actually don't like staying down here on earth, or felt I didn't know how. And as I made that shift in accepting and aligning to my purpose in my daily actions as well. This is quite soul-level victim realization rather than from my challenges in life. I feel like I have an understanding of the purpose of my adversity and how it was benefiting me. On becoming aware and accepting that, I actually came here to really be here and serve in the physical and not just out there. I feel I have started the shift and growth to starting embodying it. So I don't completely feel in victim mode, but there is some frustration and feeling like why would I want it? Do I make sense? Any insight, advice with this, please?
Thank you very much, Bridie, for sharing your journey and your basically it's your spiritual awakening journey, isn't it? And it's wonderful to hear you taking responsibility for your life and having that realization that your purpose is to anchor your light here on earth and to share its brightness with others. And so I'm just going to tune into your energy and see what we can see about you right now in relation to this. So it's kind of interesting. A few different things going on. So, of course, and if you've watched the show and listened to my podcasts, you know one of the things I always talk about is grounding. If you want to be embodied, if you want to bring your higher consciousness down here on earth and shine your light through your physical body, grounding is essential. Grounding is essential. Grounding is what helps you clear and release and let go of all of those problems. And it's what helps you anchor your light, because your vibration's very, very high, and the vibration on earth and in the physical body is much lower. And so how do you bridge the gap between that high and low vibration? And the answer to that is grounding. So when I tune into your energy, the first thing I see is that one of the things that would help you very much in anchoring your light is to be more grounded than you are. And I was also just seeing a couple of little areas where there's a little block, and one that's coming up to talk about is the third chakra, and that's the one that relates to energy distribution and out-of-body experience. And the other is it's like a little block above the crown chakra that relates to this idea of embodiment and bringing more of your energy and information into the body. And then the other thing that I was seeing is actually what it is it just looks like it's, even though you're on this journey of discovery and discovering more of about who you are and what your purpose is and why you're here, I'm seeing that there's some block that is interfering with your full grasp of all of that, and with your relationship with God, and which is preventing you from really being an open channel for that flow of energy that's you. And I'll see if I can see what the concept is that's up there that's causing the problem. Let's see. And I might just move it off for you, because if I can't see it. It just honestly, it feels like I can only be so much and I can only have so much. I can only be and only have so much. And so you've put a limit on how much of yourself you're allowing yourself to have right now. And there's a famous quote by Marianne Williamson, something like, "It's not our darkness that frightens us the most, it's our light." And I'm seeing that you're putting a little bit of a block on how much of your, it's actually quite a block, on how much of your light that you're allowing yourself to connect with and know and feel and embody. And it's a fear of shining brightly. And if we go back full circle to this idea of being stalked, a lot of people who have been a victim of a stalker or a rapist or any of that, they don't want to be seen. They don't want to shine brightly, because if I'm seen, I'll be noticed, and then I'll be victimized or or attacked. And so it looks to me like that's what that's to do with, but also in the third chakra, because the third chakra is kind of like the power center. When you own your third chakra and your third chakra is wide open, you're like, boom, I'm here. Here's my energy. Here's my power. I'm a force to be reckoned with in the world. And that's the other place where I'm seeing an energy block for you is, again, I'm only allowing myself to have a limited amount of my own power and energy. And the reason is, I don't want to be seen, because if I'm seen and I'm noticed, then what's going to happen next? ... And so that would be my insight for you, Bridie, is to continue with your work, but get grounded and start releasing the those blocks at the third chakra and the seventh chakra. And I want to just, because you talked a lot about being outside the body and enjoying sort of floating outside the body, and the third chakra is to do with that. So I'm just going to check in and see if there's any other point to make about that. So let's just see. Well, it just looks like you enjoy that because there's a sense of freedom that comes with it. I can be free. I can be free. This is a place where I can, be free to just be myself and float around. But you know what? You can be yourself in your body. You can be empowered in your body. And it's down to you, as you said, to take responsibility and continue your healing journey. And things will get better and better. So that's what I'm seeing in answer to that question. So I hope that gave you some valuable insight. I think we've maybe got time for one more question.
Okie dokie, I have one more here. And it says, "Hi, Dr. Lesser. Reading the above two Akashic Adventures, then supposedly I was in the hall." So she was reading the post on Akashic Adventures. Then she says, "I was in the hall with a bunch of books falling down on me."
No, she was in the Akashic Adventure workshop.
Oh. Okay.
And it's her experience that she's sharing from the Akashic Adventure workshop.
Okay, so you know her then. Okay.
I don't know, but
yes. So you said her eyes, they went back into the place. Then you said, "Don't go there alone." My question is, I have mind trouble stories. How much is real? Is my mind or caused by something? Is this my mind or is it caused by something else? Past life, other people. What can help? I want help from good lives. Please email your reply. I know there are many Earths, or I prefer sister Earths. I know this from dreams and seen slight differences. This life has been tough. Lost mom Christmas Eve. I still want to continue. I do feel life will be different. I hope for something better.
Okay. So it sounds like she took... There's been a bunch of different Akashic record workshops. I'm trying to remember which one it was that referred to. I think it was the past life one. Okay, and she's kind of asking lots of questions all mixed up in there. So first question, is it real? is what I'm seeing real? I kind of guess is a short version of her question. And that's a question I get asked a lot. I teach people, I'm always teaching people how to activate their clairvoyance and use their clairvoyance. And it's a place where many students get stuck. Is it real or is it my imagination? How can I tell the difference? And, or is it my mind playing tricks on me? How can I tell the difference? And so, I say it is real. And how can you tell the difference? Well, let's see. Without, I do a thing where I teach people how to move in between the center of their head, which is their third eye, and their frontal lobes, and back and forwards, and experience reality from those two perspectives. And so it's by being in the third eye and then being in different places and validating the difference and the different experiences of consciousness that you get when you do these things, that you learn by experience what clairvoyance is. And is it really, really different than your imagination? Actually, no. Because if I said to you, can you bring up a picture memory, a memory of something in your past, and look at that as a picture, is that a memory or is that clairvoyance? It's a memory, but you're seeing it with your clairvoyance. Or if I said, can you see an elephant in your imagination? Well, how are you seeing the elephant? And one might say, well, my brain is just bringing up this, picture of an elephant. But that's your clairvoyance. So we learn specific things in the clairvoyance training about, how to project the images and how to observe the images in a specific place and all of that. But, there's not that much difference between imagination and clairvoyance, and also if you're working on manifesting your reality, then and you're visualizing, how are you seeing what you're visualizing? Through your clairvoyance. So it is your clairvoyance, but can you tune into something that is you use the word how much is real. So let's see. It's possible with your intuitive abilities to lose touch with this reality and start experiencing things that are not relevant to this reality. So that can be a challenge for some people in the opening and developing of their spiritual gifts. And so sometimes those people are diagnosed with mental illness because to someone who's not familiar with psychic abilities, it would sound like a little bit crazy. And so again, that's why grounding is really important. We want to bring it back to right here, right now. Yes, you are multidimensional. There are multiple other realities that you can explore, but the aspect of consciousness that's here in this body is meant to be exploring this reality. At least that's my perspective. Why make a body on Earth if you're not going to be in the body on Earth, experiencing the body on Earth? So, and then to your thing about there are many sister Earths, and I've seen them in dreams. Now you're talking about the quantum realm, and yes, there are an infinite number of Earths, an infinite number of varieties of you. Like every possibility under the sun exists in an infinite universe, doesn't it? And so what we're doing is we're choosing our coordinates in each and every moment within that infinite universe of where we want to place our experience. I hope that makes sense. Do you think that makes sense, Corey?
I think it makes absolute sense. Good. All right, so we're getting towards the end of the show. There's about 3.5 minutes left. So I don't know if there's any very quick question. Maybe not. I don't have a really quick question at all. All right, so listeners, you've been listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey, and tonight we were talking about victim mentality, and I would love it, listeners, if you would write to us and suggest
what you'd like us to talk about on the show. We always listen to your requests and love to create shows around what it is that you want to talk about. So if any of you are listening in and say, well, I really want to learn about XYZ.
Or XYZDDW.
Yeah, write to info@drlesliephillips.com and make your request. If you're in the Facebook group, write it in the comments section of the Facebook group. What you'd really like to learn about. And we'll do our best to create a show around that theme. And other than that, listeners, it's been our pleasure talking to you this evening from CIVL on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley. And our show is on every Tuesday from 7 to 8 o'clock Pacific time. And we talk about metaphysics and spirituality. Every once in a while, we have a guest on the show.
Like next week?
Oh, like next week, apparently. And we bring different experts who have things to share under the umbrella of metaphysics and spirituality. And do you remember who our guest is next week?
I'm looking it up right now.
And what they talk about?
Next week is the 9th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about feminine goddess, the divine feminine goddess.
The divine feminine goddess.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that is with a lovely lady named, where are you now? Anne Kate Sullivan.
Oh, Anne Kate Sullivan. She is she's an expert on sort of like ancient Celtic religions. Yep. And very interesting lady.
Bye-bye now. Take care. Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Leslie Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. You can also find the questions that were asked during this show at the website on our free card reading podcast page, where you'll find a full list of them. Come back again.